Okay, first graders, did you talk about different ways you move like animals? Did you think of some that you hadn't thought of before as you were talking with someone? Okay, now we're going to go back to the other thing I asked you to think about, which was to think about the different little steps you have to take in order to do a bigger action. The example I gave to begin with was running. When we run, we don't just automatically start running. Our body has to be told to do certain things at different points in our body. So we're going to look at the image we had of Skip at the end of this story, and we are going to tell about the different steps Skip has to take in order to be able to grab, as the book says. So here we are, and we can see Skip with his different parts of his body, and we're going to be writing about what he's doing in our journal. So let's look at what we can say. What do you think the most important parts are of his body when he is wanting to grab? Did you say his hand? I would agree because his hand is what actually it has to be able to touch something in order to grab it. But his hand is connected to his arm, and he has to be able to see what he's grabbing, which uses his eyes, which are part of his head. So we are going to focus on his hand, his arm, and his head as we write about this in our journal. So look at our journal. It is October 13th, so make sure we write that up there. And we are going to explain that Skip can grab. Okay, so Skip can grab. Skip. Notice I started with a capital because it's the beginning of a sentence and a name. Sk. I. Finger space. Can. Can is a sight word. We've learned it. We should be able to use it. C-A-N. Can. Leave a space. Grab. G, g, g. R, a, b. Okay. Now I still have room, so I'm going to stay on this line, and I'm going to write this kind of the way we've been retelling and practicing putting things in a certain order. Because if you're going to grab, you also have to do things in a certain order for it to work. Okay, so first, we've been writing this a few times recently, so it should be looking more and more familiar. Capital F, I, R, S, T, first, comma. Now I'm out of room, so I'm going to come down here. Okay, let's talk about what his head does. His head is looking up. So first, he looks up. Okay, and we end the thought with a period. Once he has looked up at what it is he's going to grab, which part of his body comes into play? Would you think the next part is his arm has to go up as well? Okay, what word can we use to describe what his arm is doing? I would think we could say that his arm reaches up. Next, his arm. Next. It's exactly how it sounds. X. T. Next, comma. So would you say he reaches his arm or he lifts his arm? Which one do you think is better? You use the one you think is better. Either one would work. I think I'm going to go with lifts. He lifts. L. I. T. S. Next, he lifts his arm. We haven't done the R sound yet, but it's A-R. Arm. He's going to write the sight word arm instead. Arm. He lifts his arm. Period. Okay, finally he can actually do the grabbing. What part of his body does the actual grabbing? His fingers, or you could say his hand. But I think specifically the fingers can do the grabbing. Finally, I, all, two L's, E. Finally, his, we've done that one already, fingers. I, N, G, R, S, can, G, R, A, the. His fingers can grab. Okay? If you have slightly different ideas on how you would describe to someone else how someone is able to grab and the different steps they have to take, you can use your own thinking as well. Okay, but if this works with you and you were following along with me, then you've got a great example right here. But we're going to continue thinking about different little pieces that come together to show our movements, or instructions we can write about other things as well. Can you put things in order to give instructions to help someone else accomplish a task? That's a good skill to be learning, and we're going to keep practicing with it. Good luck. Happy learning.